I want to explain my version of werewolves because I feel like my version of vampires is kind of like in the popular zeitgeist, but my version of werewolves I feel is kind of out there. So, in my story, there are two types of werewolf. There are the born and the bitten. We'll start with the born because they're a lot more complicated. First and foremost, all born werewolves have inherent lycanthropy within them and all have golden eyes. And while males are respected, of course, female werewolves are seen in much higher regard. It's because if a female werewolf has a child, whether it be with a human or a bitten werewolf or another born werewolf, that child will always be a werewolf. They will always be able to naturally shift into their wolf form. Furthermore, female-born werewolves have the ability to help bitten werewolves shift easily. This is important because if a bitten werewolf is left to their own devices to shift for the first time, there is a big probability they will get stuck half-transformed and will have to be killed, and/or will just die if they are abandoned. Like, they weren't born to do it. It's some body horror shit, okay? Also, born werewolves can bite as many people as they want and turn them into bitten werewolves. Of course, when born werewolves get older, they lose a lot of these abilities. The ability to bite, the ability to help with shifting lessens as the female-born werewolf enters menopause. They essentially take on the role of training the younger female-born werewolves into doing what they've been doing. So now we will move on to the bitten. So like I said before, bitten werewolves are not inherently naturals at shifting into their form, and the first time they shift, it's essentially an American Werewolf in London type of situation. Like, bones are gonna be breaking, skin's gonna be splitting, it's not a fun times. However, with the help of a female-born werewolf, they are able to shift more easily and not get stuck mid-transformation. Bitten and born werewolves also differ in physicality when they shift. Bitten werewolves are essentially the size of an average wolf, whereas born werewolves are like fucking ginormous, like 10, 14 feet tall motherfuckers. Furthermore, bitten werewolves can only transform one other person, and most of them save their one infecting bite for their children. Within the pack, there is, of course, a head mother wolf, and there is a head father wolf. Furthermore, lycanthropy can be found in different races. It's not just tied to one specific one, because that'd be fucking weird. Talk about born werewolves in my story. So, werewolves have two categories in my world. There's the bitten and the born. So on the topic of born werewolves, they are essentially able to shift once they hit puberty. And they will lose their call and shift, depending on if they're born female or male, during like menopause or andropause, which I found out men go through a menopause phase. And apparently it can hit you in your 30s, so that explains a lot of midlife crises that I have seen. Anyway, one of the big differences between the bitten and the born when it comes to shifting for the first time is that born do not need a den mother's call to help them. With bitten werewolves, there is the chance of getting stuck mid-transformation and having to be put down if they shift without a den mother present, whereas born werewolves can easily shift. Like, bitten werewolves have to deal with an American Werewolf in London sort of situation, whereas born werewolves just kind of just... So, there's not a lot of body horror when it comes to born werewolves. So, non-binary, intersex, and I'll also throw in trans, werewolves within my universe. So one, of course they exist, because... Now, when it comes to the hierarchy, it depends on whether or not they are born or bitten. So bitten, it doesn't really make a difference. The gender of who is bitten within, like, werewolf packs in my universe really has no meaning. They can't genetically pass on the lycanthropy, and they don't have any specialized abilities like the born do. Like, they can just become wolves. Like, that's... However, this of course changes if they are a born werewolf. So, most rational people understand that sex and gender are two different things. One is a social construct, one is biological, and even the biological aspect is not truly set in stone. This being said, however, if someone identifies as non-binary and/or is born as intersex, or if they are trans, their role within the pack will depend on what special ability they were given. Say an intersex person was born with the subvocalizations that are required in order to guide a bitten werewolf into shifting for the first time. they will essentially take on the role of the den mother. Whether the pack calls them den mother or calls them something else is a personal thing for them to work out. Same for those that identify as non-binary. Same as if someone is born female but then transitions to male, they will most likely refer to that person as den father, even though he has taken on the responsibilities of the den mother's role. And before anyone asks, yes, there have been packs that have had 2 den mothers and 2 den fathers. However, 2 den fathers can only occur if one of them has the female-born werewolf special abilities. The 2 den fathers situation is incredibly rare within my universe. However, 2 den mothers is commonly found as well as a den mother and den father. So there are rogue werewolves in my universe. However, packs' reaction to them is very different depending on if they're born or bitten. So a bitten werewolf, whether male or female, going rogue and going off on their own chicanery and adventures, the pack is kind of like, alright, you do you. I mean, you can come back when you're ready, and most of the time they will come back and or join another pack. I should also have said that lycanthropy packs are rare, and if like 2 packs find each other, there's a good chance that they're gonna like mush together. But if a rogue werewolf like runs up on a pack and is like, hey, can I join y'all? Most of the time, unless they're like a super duper like asshole or the pack is full of assholes, they'll be like, yeah, sure, come hunt with us. Now, pack reaction drastically changes if the werewolf is born. So a born male werewolf, most will normally have a rogue phase. Like, especially if they believe they're not next in line to be the den father, they'll, run off and have their little adventures, but normally come back to the pack after a year and everybody's like, it's okay, we all had our rebellious stage. However, if it's been a year and they aren't back yet, the den father will normally go after them. This is more like a wellness check than anything else. Unless the pack's in dire straits and needs that male, they'll be like, alright, you still good? Okay. You can come back when you're ready, though. However, rogue female-born werewolves are incredibly rare, and as such, the reaction is a lot more visceral. Whether or not she be in line to be the next den mother, or she is just one of multiple born females, does not matter. If she runs off, the den mother is coming after her. And if the pack is desperate, and especially if she is the only female-born werewolf of a generation, the den mother's going to drag her back to the pack. Because without a female-born werewolf, the pack will eventually decay and crumple in on itself. Because, like I said, a male-born werewolf being able to have a werewolf child and also have that child be female is incredibly rare. Especially since bitten werewolves need a female werewolf and or den mother to shift for the first time without dying, the pack can completely dissolve within a generation or 2. There has been a couple instances, though, of a rogue female being able to find another pack and both packs joining together. If she was marked a den mother, the female of that pack she was able to bring in could take her place instead.